Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let's go ahead and start the meeting. This is the Executive Committee Agenda meeting on Monday, October 10th, 2022, and I'll call this meeting to order. We have at the present time 7 members present, 2 absent. We do have a quorum. We'll go on to item 2 on the agenda, approval of minutes August 26th and September 12th. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Member Schaefer, second by Member Erickson. Any comments, questions, additions, or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? And the motion is carried. Going to item 3, appearance by members of the public. We didn't have anybody apply to speak today. I'm sure we will on Thursday. We'll go on to item 4, departmental matters, executive committee. I have one appointment before you, and that is it for executive committee business. Is there a motion to approve the appointment? Motion by Member Schaefer, second by Member Solner. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? The motion carries. We'll go on to item D, Behavioral Health Coordinating Council. Mr. McCall, would you like to come up? Yes, you can sit right there.
Yeah, I have a request for approval of a contract between McLean County Center for Human Services and the McLean County Board for Triage Center Services.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Member Metzger, second by Member Johnston. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? And the motion's carried. Thank you, sir. And we'll go on to the report of the Finance Committee. Chairman Metzger.
Thank you, Chairman McIntyre. We have 2 items for action. First one is 4B1A, and that's request approval of an Illinois State Board of Elections voter registration state grant 2023 acceptance agreement, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Metzger. Is there a second? Second by Member Martin. Comments or questions?
This is a $54,000 grant to help with election registration.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. And the motion is passed.
Our second action is 4B1B, and that's request approval of an Illinois State Board of Election Polling Place Accessibility Federal Grant 2023 Acceptance Agreement, and that's for almost $17,000, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Metzger, second by Member Johnston. Comments or questions? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion is passed.
We have a number of items that we'll be presenting to the board on Thursday, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to the Health Committee report. Chairman Schaefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Health Committee has one item for action today. It's a request approval of a grant agreement between the State of Illinois Department of Health Care and Family Services and the County of McLean, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Schaefer, second by Member Martin. Comments or questions? Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion is passed.
And we have one other item for the board. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on to the report of the Justice Committee. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Justice Committee has no items for action, and we'll have several items to present to the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to the report of the Property Committee. Vice Chairman Johnston.
Thank you. We have no items for action and one item to be presented to the board on Thursday.
Okay, thank you. Land Use and Transportation Committee report. Chairman Solner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Land Use and Transportation Committee has 2 items for action today. The first one is F1A, request approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Chenoa. This is to do work on Division Street and then turn the jurisdiction over to them, and I would make that motion.
Motion by Chairman Solner, second by Member Metzger. Comments or questions? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion is carried.
Next item is F1B, request approval of an amendment to the Pollution Control Facilities section of the McLean County Code as requested by the Ecology Action Center, and this would allow for the appointment of a hearing officer and I would make that motion.
Motion by Chairman Solner, is there a second? Second by Member Johnston, comments or questions?
I do have a question,
Yes.
and I want Member Solner can remind me, that hearing officer, the money is coming, it's not coming from the taxpayer, is that correct?
That's correct. It would come from the applicant of whatever hearing there was, and it's just to get a hearing officer that would be a little more versed in pollution control regulations and that type of thing. So,
Okay, thank
yeah.
you.
Where was I? Have to take a vote?
Yep.
Okay, I was looking at something else there on it. Okay, anyone else? Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion's passed, thank you.
Land use and transportation will have several items to present to the board. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Decommissioning. Okay, thank you very much. We'll go on to the report of the.
Ask one more question, I'm sorry, and this has to do with this, with the items that are going to be presented to the board. Is that decommissioning agreement and that escrow agreement, has that been finalized?
It has not. Mr. Spanos mentioned to me that our proposed agreement was sent to the wind farm company and they had some changes to make. So we will be having a stand-up committee meeting next Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah, this coming Thursday, at full board.
I'm-
You might add, I mean,
That's a tentative statement. That's why I was hesitating to see on that, because
Okay.
it may not be back in time. We would have to pull that from the.
Okay, that's
board
what I
agenda,
was
yeah.
wondering. I didn't know. If we haven't seen it, I would not want, I want to look at that very carefully.
right,
And I would not want to vote on it, even if there was a stand-up. So I think if it's not back in plenty of time, I would prefer to table it. I don't think that is going to be a problem, is it? Date certain?
Yes.
I received their proposed changes. I've discussed them with them, and but for two very small edits, I am ready to put forward an agreement that I would recommend that you accept under the circumstances, but, up to you guys. The second agreement is the escrow agreement, and because that's a three-party, we made a couple of small, relatively insignificant changes proposed to them. We're waiting for JP Morgan to come back with their position on them. I expect that we'll have an agreement, but I'm told that sometimes with JP Morgan, it takes a while. So we may not have that one by Thursday.
Okay, but we would get most likely the decommissioning agreement in time to have a review prior to the meeting then.
Yes.
All right, very good, thank you.
Member Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know who this should be directed to, but would there be any prejudice if we did put it off for a month to take a look at both of these things? Is it going to create any problems to the county or anybody if we should decide to do that?
Again, I'm going to have to refer to legal on that, because I don't know, this has been a long process, and I don't know if it would jeopardize any parts of the signing or not. So if you could refer.
I'm not aware of any reason we would be prejudiced. I know that there is a lot of concern about getting it done. But if the board chose to put it off for a month to digest it further, I don't think there'd be any harm in that.
Okay, thank you.
The
Keep
company
that.
still is required, they're in violation right now because they hadn't put any money forward. So they still have, when this gets signed, then they will put that money in escrow for the past 2 years that they haven't. Is that what we're looking at then?
Right. This agreement is to bring them up to speed with where the decommissioning fund should be.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to the report of the county administrator. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman McIntyre. I have several items to present to you tonight, and as a reminder, I also have a very short PowerPoint presentation that will go along in conjunction with the budget items. But first, item 4G1A, I request approval of a resolution establishing a holiday schedule for county employees for the year 2023.
Is there a motion? Motion by Member Johnson, second by Member Schaefer. Comments or questions? Any discussion? Do you want to present first, or we go ahead and pass?
Well, this one would just be on page 115.
So we're okay.
And we're okay with that.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you, Chairman. The next item is 4G1B, request approval of the fiscal year 2023 recommended budget for the Regional Planning Commission. That's found on pages 116 through 124, and I would ask Ray Lai to join us somewhere in an open seat
Here's right here.
as I move through just a few quick slides. So as you can see there, this map outlines what the metropolitan planning area is for the Bloomington Normal Urbanized Area. The McLean County Regional Planning Commission celebrated 50 years in 2018, so they have been established for quite a while. And they are part of our single audit due to GATA, and their budget was approved by the McLean County Regional Planning Commission on September 7th of 2022. We include them in our budget for auditing and reporting purposes, and as you will see, the McLean County budget is made up of 58% of their budget is salaries, 3% supplies, 38% services, and 1% capital expenses. Mr. Lai has provided us with a better table there to show you the direct costs. And this would show you a pie chart of those same figures, those same percentages. Moving on to the revenue. I loved this graphic. I took this from his presentation to administration, and I believe Jennifer Six created this infographic. This gives you an idea of all of the different grants that make up the total budget for FY 2023. You can see the Bloomington, Normal, and McLean County portions are at the top in green. McLean County supports with $54,000. And stated a different way, this just shows you again all of the different revenue sources. McLean County supports 5% of this revenue in our county service agreement. And that's it for slides.
Okay, do you have a motion? Thank you. A motion by Member Martin to approve. Is there a second? Anyone down here? Second by Member Solner. Comments or questions? All in yes. Member Metzger.
I don't know. Back a couple slides. The next one more. Where you have consultants on there, I noticed that there's numerous line items throughout their budget that has consultants, and they're all not been utilized when they've been budgeted. But then there's the one for rural planning went to $206,000. Can I just ask what that is for? What project or are you doing that is going to require a consultant for that kind of money? I'm on page 124 of the packet, and it's line 07050001.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good. 076, 0706.001.
24.
Okay, this page.
24,
Okay.
right in the
Is
center.
that page? Oh, page 9.
Close. And there you go. And it should be your consultants right here,
Okay, great,
206.
great, thank you.
Just for clarification, you're referring to the $206,500 that's in line 7050001 consultants for the rural planning grant.
Right.
We've actually changed the name of that work element, and what you're looking for, it's the race grant. Well, yeah, it's the consultant.
All right. It's a good news, just so that the committee knows. At the end of 2021, MCRPC was a recipient or announcement that we got a federal grant called RAISE, and we are the only entity in the state of Illinois to conduct a planning study to reinvent and we envision the whole 10-mile Veterans Parkway for safety. And as part of that, we are among like 27 entities in the whole country who got it. And what this pretty involved study would take consultant, although it's put it under the regional planning, it's a multi-year project. Consultants will be hired to conduct that study. The whole project is about $675,000, and we estimate that it will take probably 2.5 or so years to take it. So what we did was we broke down the amount just for budgeting purposes into 3 years, and then that's about the amount. And will be year one. We're still working with the federal government. It's a federal grant. We are so proud of having received this grant because it's not just MCRPC is doing it along with many partners, including counties, the city, town, transit, and a few others, and including the state of Illinois Department of Transportation. They put in a lot of local match for this really critical project. As you know, this is 80-year-old parkway. It's identified as the most dangerous roadway in our area. Also, that's part of that. Kind of break it up into a 3-year project. Our estimate too. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? And the motion has passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lai. Next up is 4G1C, request approval of fiscal year 2023 recommended budget for Information Technologies, Department 0001-0043, including subdepartments 0047 for data processing and 0107 for county GIS.
Okay, do we have a motion? So, Member Martin, is there a second? Second by Member Schaefer. Comments, questions, or discussion? Questions for Mr. Nelson? You want to go ahead and present?
Yeah. Do you mind if I present first, Mr. Nelson? So the budget overview, as you all are aware, IT serves all county departments for technical support. We have a help desk that is widely used, and they also complete level 1 issue resolution. We also have a project manager on this payroll, and of course, our management team through IT. Their breakdown of their overall budget is 43% for salaries, 39% for services. Fringe is a very small 1%. Supplies is 8%, and they have 9% in capital assets this year. As you're looking through their budget, you may see the contra salary line as similar to other departments. The contra salary line will encompass reimbursements from special funds that would flow back into this fund for administration expenses. That is a change from last year. For a budget overview, we had a 22% overall increase to this budget, but we have some big projects this year. I've outlined 4 of the line items that had significant increases. The computer hardware line is a 93% increase, but that is for equipment, for security cameras, for the network closets, which will add security measures. We have additional monitors to staff. That is for county-wide monitors. We have 162 monitors budgeted in that line. For contract services, the increases of 26% include security cameras for the government center, mag cards for government center offices, and additional DevNet tax software. I'm not sure if that's a renewal or if there's expanded abilities with that software. And then for software license agreements, we saw a 60% increase, including a new software for cybersecurity processes. And lastly, the purchase of computer equipment. That's a large increase to that line. We had 11 new squad cars for the Sheriff's Department. This provides the mobile data terminals for each of those squad cars. And then also this includes Teams equipment across different departments. And then lastly, for our GIS budget, that was a 47% decrease from last year's expenses, but we had no flyover this year. And so that would account for that decrease. Anything else?
Do you have anything to add? Member Nelson? If not, Member Solner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 128, which has FTEs, I want to make sure I understand under the programmer and the network security specialist. Programmer, you're going from 2 to 1 FTDs, but then you're going from 1 to 2 under the security specialist. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's not what we wanted to do, but we posted the programmer position for something like 6 to 8 months and couldn't get any applicants. And so we had a need in another area, so I worked with administration, and we decided it makes sense to add a network specialist then to hit the next area where we might be able to fill that gap.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. And opposed? The motion is passed. We'll go on to item D. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Nelson. Next up is 4G1D, request approval of the fiscal year 2023 recommended budget for shared sales tax, municipalities budget fund Fund 0007, including County Board Department, Mental Health Program, Non-Departmental 0099, and Non-Departmental Program 0099. That's found on pages 132 through 135.
Could I get a motion on the floor? Motion by Member Schaefer, second by Member Solner. Comments and discussion. Let's go ahead.
Okay. For a budget overview, just as a reminder, the intergovernmental agreement that governs this budget line has 4 components, including our debt service on the jail addition, contributions to the Aegis replacement project, our mental health in justice settings in the criminal justice system, and also community mental health initiatives. The total budget for 2023 is $4,162,575 for all of those components. As we look at the overview for salaries, we have the salaries that are encompassed in the FUSE program. For transfers, we have 1.1 million in transfers for the debt service on the jail. We have 663,165. That's for those mental health services that we provide in the jail. And then we also have services through our BHCC and Kevin McCall's, under his leadership with BHC, we have 1 million in mental health contractual services and 425,000 with miscellaneous contract services. So if you look at just the BHCC programming, which would be those community behavioral health programs, you'll see that salaries are 48% of their budget, services are 51%, with 1% for supplies. The staff's the FUSE program provides transportation for our clients, provides temporary housing or rental assistance to our clients. It supports the Behavioral Health Community Forum that we had last week. Last week. It is takes care of the triage agreement that we have through the Center for Human Services and also our Bridge Academy contract with ROE for youth behavioral health needs. Overall, this budget decreased 46% from 2022. This is due to a large portion being budgeted for the Aegis project that this year is being budgeted through ARPA because ARPA has a very defined deadline that is strict, and so we've shifted those funds to ARPA funding.
Okay, any comments? Mr. McCall has joined us. Let's have questions first. Mr. Solomon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, on page 135 with the FTEs, if I understand this right, you're going from 21.31 to 8? That's a significant cut.
Yeah, that's correct. That reflects the change in services from the triage center from McLean County to the Center for Human Services.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. McCall, you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. 4G1E is up next, and that is request approval of fiscal year 2023 recommended budget for the county board. And you have the line there. I'm not going to read it. Pages 136 through 139.
Okay, I need a motion to get on the floor. Anyone? Member Martin and second by Member Johnston.
County Board budget overview. This contains all of the revenues that support the budgets within the general fund and include those listed there. You can see that there are several smaller amounts. I hope you can read all those with lighting as it is. For expenses, our overview shows that transfers are 61.59% of this budget, almost 30% are in services. Salaries make up 8.69, and then your supplies are just a little sliver there. These expenses help to pay for all those intergovernmental related expenses with our regional office, our Economic Development Council, our Ecology Action Center, and then also those transfers in yellow go to our METCOM. That's the county's portion to METCOM.
Okay, comments? Questions? I'm sorry, Member Johnson?
Thank you. Looking over at page 136, we've got a sizable increase on the cannabis tax expectation. Does that include the new location that they're hoping to have? I guess my question is why, like, what do we have, what are we anticipating to see that massive jump in the cannabis tax?
So we're basing those on projections from our Illinois Municipal League and also trends that we're seeing in the community. I do not think that when we started this budget, we incorporated that third location, so these could be, these projections could be low.
Okay, that would be nice. And I think the other one that I had, back on this, is on page 137. And it had to do with the county parking, which we keep budgeting for but not using.
I'm sorry, what?
If we look down, the county parking at, on page 137, it's 0777 .0008, and we keep it setting up for $135, which I'm just curious why we keep doing that if we're not going to, if that's not an expense that we actually have.
So that expense is bookmarked for consultants or outside vendors or speakers that we would have come to the county board that we would pay to have parking over in our parking lot over here. If it's not needed, we don't use it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? And the motion's passed. Thank you. Taylor, you got the floor.
4G1F is request approval of fiscal year 2023 recommended budget for county board fleet.
Okay, is there a motion? Motion by Member Martin, second by Member Schaefer. Any comments or questions? Would you like to proceed?
Yes, we do not have any budgeted expenses in the fleet subdepartment. All those vehicle purchases are made through the American Rescue Plan.
Okay, thank you. You can have the floor and we'll move on. We have to vote.
I don't think we have to vote on a zero budget. For 4G1G, request approval of fiscal year 2023 recommended budget for County Administrator's Office, Fund 0001, Department 2, Program 2.
Okay, is there a motion? Motion by Member Metzger, is there a second? Second by Member Johnston. Comments or questions? Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. For the budget overview for administration, 80% of the department is salaries, 19% for services, and 1% for supplies. For our overall budget, our expenses decreased by 7%, salaries increased slightly, and our auditing accounting line increased slightly due to a quote from Clifton Larson Allen. But overall, a decrease.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Motion's passed.
Next up is 4G1H, request approval of fiscal year 2023 recommended budget for the American Rescue Plan Act Fund 163, County Board Department 1, Legislation and Policy Program 1, starting on page 144.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Member Metzger, and a second? Second by Member Martin. And we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. For the American Rescue Plan this year, our total 2023 budget is just over $8 million. Last year, we obligated $10 million. The majority of these projects that we're recommending are for infrastructure projects, and I have them delineated here. $300,000 for parking lot resurfacing at the Highway Department. We do have Aegis expenses in $3.3 million. This project is moving right along, and so you will continue to see increased expenses for Aegis in the next few years. $500,000 has been budgeted for the purchase of a Lodax scanner in the coroner's office. The squad cars that we mentioned earlier, there are 11 in total. That's $458,000. Parks and Rec, we have a right-of-way budgeted for the Route 66 trail for $135,000. The Juvenile Detention Center is in need of replacement of their boilers. That's $252,000. And then at 200 West Front Street, we have several infrastructure issues that are going on in that building for a total of $408,000. We have $500,000 budgeted for a building automation system for the Law and Justice Center. And then the nursing home, we have $2,145,000 budgeted for a replacement HVAC system and hot water system for a total of $8,009,028.
Comments? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you, Chairman. The last item that I would present for action is not a budgeted amount. It is a request for approval of an amendment to the Ragland Building Agreement. We would like the color scheme at the park to be pleasing to the eye, and so we bring to you this amendment that was an oversight from the previous agreement.
Is there a motion? Motion by Member Martin, second by Member Johnson. Any comments? Questions?
So the original was just going to be white? Is that what happened?
It was going to be the steel, galvanized steel
Oh,
look.
so now the roof is green, the sides are gray, and the porch ceiling is gray with some and the gables are going to be gray. So that's where we're at. Okay. And an additional $450? Is that right?
Little over 400, yep.
I got a motion in a second, didn't I?
You do.
Anyone else? Comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? And the motion's carried. Thank you.
Those are all of my items to present for action this evening. The only other item I have to present was passed out to you before the start of the meeting, and that is the dashboard for quarter 3 and for year to date with our HR figures. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? With your permission, before we go into closed session, I'd like to entertain a paying of the bills. Trying to find the rest of it. So we have our general fund, shared sales tax, veterans assistance and American Rescue Plan bills for the amount of $573,220.83. And also the additional one we always have from regional planning of $4,026.96. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Member Metzger, second by Member Solner. Any comments, questions, or additions? All in favor, please say aye. And opposed? Motion has carried. We'll now, shall we recess now? I'm sorry. At this time, because the city's coming in here to move into closed session, I would need a motion to move in, and we'll do it now. Otherwise, we won't need to. Motion by Member Johnson. Is there a second? Second by Member Schaefer. All in favor of moving into closed session into room 404, please say aye. And opposed? Thank you very much, and we'll adjourn for 5 minutes, and we'll see you.